This has major implications on the future of the Montreal Canadiens, as there have been reports league-wide of various players being made available in free agency. We got reports about Peterka, about Ehlers, about so many guys in between, the Islanders, Horvat, and Barzal, and the future of the Montreal Canadiens has never been more clear, where we need to add talent, and these recent reports do have a cascading effect on how Montreal will build for the future. We have to dive into that. We also got some big Olympic updates, as Suzuki and Caufield were not mentioned yet among the first six, but our boy Slafzilla absolutely was headlining top, front, and center for Team Slovakia. We also want to have a deep look, or not a deep look, a newer look into the Habs draft picks at 16 and 17, some names that have come to light, and we want your opinions on all that. Bunch of great stuff coming up on this live episode of Habs Digest. Jesse, it's fantastic to get a stream once again on this wonderful Monday. Next Monday, hey, I don't know if we'll have a stream next Monday. There'll be some stuff going on, but this may very well be the last live stream before the draft, considering I'm moving next week. It might be tough to get a live, and we'll have a video out. But Jesse, I mean, as we're approaching this draft, I'm getting so excited. We're like 10 days away. I'd love to see the draft hype in the comments as well. How are you feeling?
I'm feeling good, just knowing that obviously with all the great work that Kent Hughes has been doing in the draft, we got a smorgasbord of just great picks ready to come to this organization just basically in 10 days, right? Like, that draft is going to be starting on June 27th, and I mean, we just cannot wait. I'm getting all the feels right now, Josh, remembering when Ivan Demidov first joined us, and well, I don't think we'll be able to top last year with Celine Dion. I don't believe she is going to be in the building. Stay tuned to Habs Digest. We'll confirm that. But we know Kent's always got some tricks up his sleeve all the same, right? Like, for me, this is very interesting, where it's like, I feel like, Josh, there's a good chance, like, both picks for at least this year, like, he's probably going to use this in a trade. Hear me out why. And I know we're getting to the meat and potatoes pretty soon, but like, we got to start off with a bang, right? It's like, I just feel with like those picks at like 16 and 17, the nice part about that, there's a good value, but you also kind of control them. Mm-hmm. Like, instead of like the Habs maybe giving away like next year's a kind of a first round pick, let's say next year, the nice part about this is you already know where that's kind of sitting. So it's got a good value, but at the same time, you don't feel like you're having to do a risky play, like, or maybe not get as much value by putting caveat, okay, like, we have to make it top 10 protected. So like, I just see Ken coming out like all guns firing, really noticing how we need some of those players through trades, through free agency, to really take this team to the next level, like we've been seeing in the Cup Finals right now.
Yeah, exactly like that. And I know there was an article floating around, I think it was from Montreal Hockey Now, mentioning that same kind of thing. And it's very true. I mean, you look at a team like Edmonton, of course, yeah, they built their top-end talent through the draft, but they have two of the best players on the planet. Whereas Florida, yeah, they have some homegrown guys, but a lot of the guys, their key guys, came in via trade, right? Or signing, right? Like, Bobrovsky was not born and raised, but picked and grown in Florida. Reinhart, Bennett, Matthew Tkachuk, so many of these guys were not homegrown talent for the Florida Panthers. So when you're looking at Montreal's core, how young our core pieces are, and guys like Nick Suzuki and Cole Caufield, it's like, look, we got 24 years old for Caufield, 25, almost 26 for Suzuki. These guys' primes are going to go for the next 5, 6, 7 years, and pushing your team into a win now mode by even just adding one star whose prime will at least align or at least high level play for that short term will matter a lot. So I tend to agree. I think a trade is going to be coming to some extent with these picks, but still, regardless, we're talking about the draft. There's a lot of guys Montreal could select in the draft, and taking a look in the chat here too, we got a lot of people. We got Simon flexing that new Chef Hughes emote. Guys, if you're a channel member, go in, send that new Chef Hughes emote, because a great suggestion by one of our other channel members, Mark Orr, for that. It was great. There's Mark. Hello, all you awesome Habs fans. Keep the faith, hit subscribe, and go Habs, go. Mark, why don't you test out that new emoji you suggested? It's pretty good. We got Alex sending it in as well. Frank Thibault, hello everyone. Ethan, Jesse saying, how's everyone's day going? Well, fantastic. For us, what kind of player would you guys like from the draft? And I like how open-ended that is, because that gets right into what we're going to talk about. Now, we decided today just to have a little cursory look at some of the top guys again, because we haven't really done, since I think one or two streams ago maybe, where we really dove into a lot of the potential guys at 16 or 17. And those names have shifted. And, before we dive into the picks, Jesse, I want to get your thoughts on this too. Based on what we've seen from Montreal, based on what we've talked about in some recent videos, a guy I would love to target in this draft with later picks is combination of size and talent, even if it's high risk, high reward. I know the name Mason West has flown around a bit. I like, Matthew Guard, and there's a few other guys like that. How do you feel about that for a later round pick before we get into our first round, kind of hoping to be like solid lineup, if not even a low-key star level player?
Yeah, I think kind of swinging for the fences with some of our later round picks. And that has been the Habs strategy going forward, but that's even more true now given the depth of prospects they have. Like, they're going to be leaning into that even more so, right? To actually get the players that can kind of have the opportunity, the upside to break through and really have a big impact on this team. So love kind of the prototype, the archetype that this Habs, kind of scouting team has developed, and I'm totally on board with it.
Yeah, I think it could be good too, and I think you guys let us know what you guys think as well on that front, because there's a lot of very interesting guys. Oh, we have some great comments in here. What do you think? Once you all go get Steven Stamkos, Stamkos. Maybe, if it's the right price. I think it'd be tough, though. I think you need some retention coming there. Nashville, oh boy, if they need to offload,
Vet C.
yeah, it's a vet C. He fits, doesn't he? I mean, who knows if they want to retain anything, but it could be interesting. We also got one here saying, I'm the biggest Habs fan from Saudi Arabia, Riyadh, the capital. Go Habs, go. See, we got international fans. Thank you so much for being here. I can't really read the name, but hey, you know what? Really appreciate you nonetheless. Glad you support the Habs. But let's dive into some of these names again, Jesse. And, fitting with my theme of liking big guys, I think you guys know, if you've been watching the show a lot, that we are, well, especially me, I'm a big Lyndon Lakovich guy. I think this guy has some really, really high upside. The main thing with him, like, again, just cursory look at these guys. To me, he's one of these guys, if he falls to 16 or 17, I think he fits. And I think his talent could be amazing. The only problem with him, Jesse, there's been questions about his, effort throughout the full 60 minutes, which is not something the Habs love. But considering he's 6'4", 190, and his primary mode of playing is through transition offense, very disciplined, only 4 penalty minutes as a 6'4" player. He's not that physical yet, but he can learn how to play physical. I mean, if you're talking high upside in terms of build and skill, it's Lyndon Lakovich, but there's a few, intangibles, I guess, that definitely shine through that make me think it might not be a Habs pick, but in terms of talent, he's a guy I would definitely target.
For sure. And very interesting because the talent is there. But that being said, like, we know how big like the Habs are on culture, but to his credit, he's been able to own it. But I mean, talking about on the ice, like having that size with kind of that skill, like that a little bit of finesse that he has as well, like it really makes it an interesting combination. And Josh, like, he's kind of been reminding me kind of like almost of like a Brad Marchand, the way that like he's just opportunistic offensively, like he knows how to kind of read the play to just get himself into these very good situations going forward. So obviously I think we're looking to build a little bit more a rugged team. And to be frank, like I think 2 out of 3 of these guys like really fit this bill quite a bit. And, you can definitely see why, in the great work that he's done leading up to the draft.
Yeah, I completely agree. Very funny. Brad Marchand, but a lot bigger. But I see where you're coming from. Like, opportunistic guy, makes a lot of the right plays. Again, there are some concerns, but overall, just a very talented guy. But look, if we're talking talent, and I'm looking at the results of the poll already between these 3 guys, Jesse, I spoiled the other 2 names there in that poll. Please go vote. But, this is the guy who's gonna front run this poll, because Carter Bear, I'm convinced this guy would be a locked in top 10 pick if it wasn't for the Achilles injury, right? And that's of course a devastating injury to anyone in sports. It saps a lot of your athleticism, a lot of your explosiveness. But now more than ever, players are recovering from Achilles injuries and looking just as good as they did before. So, I am very optimistic for Carter Bear's recovery. He should be good to start next season. But Jesse, 40 goals in 56 games for the Everett Silvertips. This guy could have easily pushed a 50-goal season this year, 82 points. He is just so unbelievably skilled and so many assets to the game. At this 16-17 range, if he does fall, which again, some people are saying he could go as high as like 10. Some people are saying he could go in the late teens. That's the thing. It's so crazy right here in the teens. But if you want, of the 3 guys we're going to talk about, I think he's the closest to a can't miss level prospect. Like, there's things that could go wrong with Lakovich. There's things that could go wrong with Carbono, who we'll talk about in a minute. There are some concerns there. I feel like in terms of talent, skill, and what he brings to the game, I feel like Carter Bear is just one of those guys that I would genuinely love at this position.
Yeah, absolutely. Just a lot of things that you're just on the list where you're just checking. He really brings to the game. It's really that injury this year that's maybe kind of holding him back, but that's the only reason why he may fall to us.
Mhm.
As it's listed right now, according to Bobby McKenzie, the gold standard when it comes to drafting. They have him just before us at 15th there. But it's going to be really kind of interesting to see going forward because there's, obviously a big disparity. Like Craig Button has him at 24, but I think just like kind of overall type of game, but obviously that emphasis on that goal scoring. I think they're for me, like out of the three guys we're talking about today, I think Carter Bear is probably where I'm leaning if I'm Kent Hughes.
Yeah, I also think like you look at his picture and you think he's smaller than he is. Like the dude's 6'1", 180. Like he's not small, right? Like he's a winger for sure, but like, that's NHL level size already at the age of 18. So I'm very optimistic about a guy like Carter Bear who is winning this poll for now. And yeah, I mean, everything you said, Jesse, rings true. Final guy I did want to talk about today is Justin Carbonneau because it feels like it's been a while since we talked about him. He's right across the river from me here in Lévis, Quebec. 46 goals in 62 games with Blainville-Boisbriand. And look, in terms of goal scoring talent, Jesse, I mean, he tops Carter Bear, maybe not by a ton, but this guy at this point in the draft straight up has one of the best goal scoring abilities out there. And there are some concerns about, I think I've seen something about his cockiness, though I don't know how true that is. Like, it's hard to take a lot of these reports at face value this time of year because teams are throwing out smoke screens and stuff. You have to think the Habs are interested, right? In the Quebecois guy, fantastic shot, goal-scoring prowess, which is exactly what you need. Could improve his skating a little bit. If there are off-ice concerns, for sure. But I think if the Habs, again, want to go with a guy who, you're talking NHL size, 6'1", 191 with a heavy shot, he has a lot of the tools. There's a few things he could improve on, but I think a lot of Quebecois would really like him on the team, and not just because of that, Jesse, because of just, again, that pure offensive talent that I think Montreal is searching for, whether through trade or through the draft.
For sure. And there is some defensive issues there,
Yeah.
but like a lot of guys, like high offensive guys, obviously coming out of juniors, that is kind of a common thread there. That remains to see if that can be taken care of. Kent Hughes definitely going to take it as part of the picture, but I mean, has the upside to even go higher, and to be gone by the time we get around because great playmaker, great hands. I mean, getting, 46 goals, 89 points last year in the Q, just absolutely kind of lighting it up. And the only player that we're speaking about today, Josh, I think interesting to know, while there may be the defensive issues, didn't miss any time this year due to injury. Like that was an issue for Slafkovsky, for Bear. While I think that's not like everything, kind of going into a draft year, injuries definitely do happen in the game. I think it is still important, though, guys that can find a way to stay healthy. So I definitely think, that is something that Carbonneau's got going for him going into this draft here.
I actually think that's a very good point. And, you find players that are healthy, they tend to go a little bit higher, right? Like, you just see them more. You get more of a chance to scout them. And you're right, Slafkovsky and Bear both missed a hand. Both of them played, I think, Bear 50, Slafkovsky 47, like we just looked at. Whereas, you got that extra 12 or whatever games with a guy like Carbonneau who played in the Q. So very, very interesting group of three. We'll end the poll right there to see what you guys voted. We know YouTube never adds to 100%. Leave a like on this stream right now if you want YouTube to fix the math in their polls, because you can see that doesn't even add close. That adds to 98%. What even is that? It's not even 99. But Carter Bear is an absolute runaway. Slafkovsky, the distant third to, well, actually, no. Carbonneau, 28%, Slafkovsky, 22. I think we're on board with you guys. 48% for Bear is pretty overwhelming, and if he's available, would definitely like him. Now, there are, of course, a lot of other names around there. A guy like Logan Hensler out of college, a guy like Koreshny. There's a lot of other names we've talked about that could be targets, but leave your favorite target down in the comments below as well. We're going to take a look through chat. Alex saying eyes on Crosby. Well, look, we'll be getting into some of this in just a second. I mean, as much as I'd love the eyes to be on him, we'll have to wait and see. But hello to David McDonald. Hi from the Rock. First time in chat. David, what are you at by? How you doing? Moving back there in just about a week now. Maybe I'll see you around town. But who knows? Thank you for being here, David. Really, really appreciate it. Carter Bear's a name, right? Yeah, it is. It's a really cool name. Great hockey name, like we've discussed before, Jesse. I mean, Carter Bear doesn't really get much better than that. Simone dreaming about Sidney Crosby. Ethan saying, I think I want a guy with grit and size. Bottom 6 to middle 6. That could be something we'll discuss in a minute as well. So that, we'll get into a lot of this offseason stuff in a moment. Ethan saying, Simone saying Blake Fiddler. That's interesting as well. Ethan saying, I really like him, but I also would like a guy that's a big guy, very strong physically, whether he's a bottom 6 player or not. There's a lot of very interesting names going around, draft, free agency, Jesse, but I think if we turn the tide right now to the future of the Habs and how we're going to build this team. I mean, trades, free agency. That's something where we really need to pay attention right now. And there have been reports after reports Ehlers is hitting the open market, but he's going to get $9 million plus. So right away, start tempering your expectations for any kind of contract that Montreal signs with a free agent. It's going to be more than you think because of this cap going up. Just be ready for some sticker shock. The Penguins are not offering Malkin a contract extension. Not only does that potentially, you never know, probably not, but potentially open a door for Crosby to go to a new team again. Unlikely, but still interesting. JJ Peterka wants out of Buffalo, among guys like Alex Tuch and, some people saying Tage, but that's not confirmed. Even Bowen Byram is now on the trade talk list. Jesse, with all these talks this offseason, I feel like the NHL landscape is, maybe this is recency bias, I feel like it's one of the most chaotic times I've ever seen, especially for high-level players leaving their teams. Am I crazy for saying that? And don't you see Montreal, like, even if it's not this offseason, heading into the future, I feel like the whole landscape of the NHL is really boding well for the Habs. Even though there's a lot of other teams buying, the Habs have some of the most assets. So if we want to make a move, there are more names than I can really remember in a lot of recent history.
It's such a good point, Josh. Like, a lot of these moving parts are just going to create these openings. It's very rare, in fact, where you have somebody like a 100-point guy a lot of the time in Mitch Marner who is going to be available in free agency. And then you have Nick Ehlers, who's probably the second overall target here in free agency. And as we see, like, this guy, when he is in the lineup, definitely does get points, scores goals, can basically bank on him getting 20 to 25 goals every year. The big thing is, though, with Ehlers, interesting, and there has been some connections there with Laine, but the thing about that is we don't know how long he's going to be in town with us. Mm-hmm. But also with Ehlers, again, is that he's only had 3 seasons where he's played more than 70 games. And our team has gotten a little bit healthier now. We've gotten better with it, but it's not long ago, Josh, where like this team was having some serious issues staying healthy, and we know like it hurt us. Yeah. It's the reason we got Juraj Slafkovsky, huge part of that. Blessing in disguise, but we're looking to kind of turn that page now going forward. But very interesting, right? We're hearing some great points kind of coming at it. Like there is kind of that kind of idea you have to feel with Kent Hughes of like, what if we kind of get this type of skilled winger, kind of add that to the second line? But I'm hearing some great comments, from obviously our amazing viewers, and around the league as well, where they're just saying, like getting that good center again is like so foundational. And I think a lot of people right now around like the media landscape are kind of doom and gloom, but it's like, can we really not underestimate Kent Hughes in this situation? Like, Kent's going to cook. We brought the emoji out for this live, for this reason, right? Because we just know he has so much draft. Like, Josh, I'm just more concerned about the man overpaying. Like, maybe giving a little bit too much where I'm like, okay, we got it to, but like, did we give too much? Like, we don't want to mortgage the future, right? Because I really feel like we might need to get a little bit creative, but I really think that, Kent's going to get a way to really be able to figure this out. It's going to be remained. Like, obviously, that ideal situation is that young guy, but it's like, I think getting that vet, too, as we're seeing from the finals right now, and like having those experienced guys and how that can kind of add to your team. We're seeing players being able to play a lot longer. Their peaks coming earlier, but being able to consistent level of play for a lot longer. It's a very interesting phenomenon, I would say, happening right now in hockey and sports. So it's like, I got a lot of faith that Kent is going to find that right guy for us.
Yeah, I completely agree. And it's like, but it's a matter of when, right? Because like we know right now, the landscape of the NHL is making it extremely difficult, like extremely good time to be a buyer because of the names that are out there and available, especially young names. And like you said, free agent playoff killers like Sam Bennett, who might go back, but a guy like Mitch Marner, who's a 100-point guy who doesn't really show up in the playoffs, whatever. But to have that level of talent, but at the same time, the NHL has so much parity right now that so many teams are on the verge of the playoffs that they all want to keep buying to keep going. And I flashed this up a minute ago, and like, we can't forget the Islanders, right? This was the team that were like, look, they're bringing in a new GM. Lou is gone. They don't want to win. But no, Matthew Darche said, look, Horvat and Barzal are not going anywhere. And even LeBlanc said, look, Montreal would have been one of those teams that would have been in on these guys. So again, it's speculation, but to be a fan of any buying team right now is exciting because we can look at any potential player, see how they can fit with our team. But I think, like you said, Jesse, overpaying is a concern. Because, when the cap goes up, I mean, look, I know maybe this won't land with every viewer, but like when the cap jumped in the NBA with TV deals, it was a massive jump and then a slow climb after that. We don't know if in a few years the cap will jump down the next few years and then kind of level out after because of some TV deals. And if that happens, you'll end up with a lot of albatross contracts that don't age as well as you think they will. So you really want to be careful. But that's where I think your point comes into play, where Kent Hughes is going to be careful. We have the luxury to be careful. But I want to ask you guys, say Y for yes, N for no. Is it okay? Will you be okay if Montreal does not make a big addition this offseason? Just a yes or a no in chat. I won't do this as a poll. I'm not like, obviously, I want one to happen. I think it should happen this offseason. Do I think it's a failure of an offseason if it doesn't happen? Oh, we're split already. A lot of people saying no. This is kind of the big question here, Jesse. Like, if Kent doesn't make a big move this offseason simply because the market doesn't let him, if that makes sense, based on the Habs' own standards, would you be okay with that heading into next season? I'd still want some talent, but if it comes between slightly overpaying for someone and not getting anyone at all, a rock and a hard place, what are you choosing?
The market not allowing us. That's Bergevin talk right there. I rebuke that. Kent Hughes can definitely make it happen this year. And I think there's some good cautionary tales of like where when you're getting into your window and not kind of striking while the iron's hot. I think that this young team, they got a taste of it. And I think it's really about kind of rewarding them. And Kent was just all this time was just waiting to see when they were ready. I think he's kind of gotten that green light now. And then with all the ammunition that he has, I think it's just a perfect storm to really make this team a lot better. And I love the point made in the chat earlier. It's like 3 moves that I think makes a lot of sense for the Habs this year. Obviously, we know the 2C. I think adding a defensive guy on the right-hand side, again, playing that defensive game. And then adding a great point in the comments earlier about adding some grit to the bottom 6. I think those are 3 moves that you can bank on. That, like, there's going to be a little bit of movement with the decor. We know the 2C. We're really going to focus it there. Doesn't need to be a ton of movement given, like, other than that, considering the prospects. And that's with Demidov coming in, that's naturally just going to change that landscape so much. But I think adding just a little bit more of that size to that bottom 6 could be a great move kind of going forward. Maybe, again, getting a little bit of somebody older there, considering how many young guys like Beck, Kaiden that we're going to have joining those ranks there. So I think I would really suspect those 3 moves going for the Montreal Canadiens this offseason.
Yeah, and again, like, as much as we do want our young guys to fill in these roles, if we want to make the playoffs again, it's not going to be easy, right? Because every team around us wants to make it too. I'm not saying we're going to miss it, because I genuinely think we're going to make it next year. I think the team that we ice this year, it's only going to be better next year, even if we don't add almost anything, because of the jumps in skill that we're hoping to see from Slafkovsky, a fully healthy Line A, a full season of Ivan Demidov, what Lane Hutson's going to be able to do, improved goaltending situation with Dobeš having a full season under his belt, stuff like that, right? That's just going to make this team more consistent, if anything, in those wins that we get. And think about the amount of come from behind wins we had last year. We won't have to do that nearly as much this year. So I'm still confident this is a playoff team, but you still can't ignore the fact that Dvorak, as much as he didn't have a great year a lot of the time, he had a great final stretch. I mean, I got to admit, he had some really nice moments, especially that one against Colorado. Fantastic faceoff guy, played some second penalty kill, was our go-to faceoff guy. He's not on the team anymore. Our best faceoff guy now is Suzuki, like just above 50%, whereas Dvorak was like 55. Yoel Armia, part of that tandem on the penalty kill with Jake Evans, Jesse. He was right there, our second best penalty killer. He is gone. So bringing in some kind of grit or defensive talent for that bottom 6, I think matters too. I know we've heard the name JG Pageau thrown out there. I think his contract's just a bit too much to take on for the role that he would give us, but I think that's where some of this grit comes in too, because veteran presence does matter. I'd love Beck or Kaiden to come up, maybe take a role like that. Florian Xhekaj is another name that I think fits very well, but again, the last thing I want to do is rush him. If he's ready, he's going to make himself inevitable, but when it comes to addressing Dvorak and Armia, before we move on to this international stuff, which I'm really excited to get into, do you believe that's something we can address from within this year and stay at the same high standard of hockey, making those playoffs? Or do you think that adding a veteran talent is something that we should do just to keep consistency on the team? Because I'm in favor of, even if it's just for like a short-term rental of like a year or something, having kind of a stopgap, even bottom 6 center or penalty killer or something, just to have, in case our young guys don't prove themselves enough. And look, giving the young guys an extra year is not the end of the world, provided it's not like, one of your top guys that you're shoving down to the AHL for like 4 years straight.
Yeah, I think adding Levette on a short-term deal makes a lot of sense to kind of insulate the youth. But that's all that you really need from there, I think, in the bottom six. Why? Because we have so much depth coming up. I think that's going to be a really strong point for the Montreal Canadiens. Again, that relates to the drafting. There's a reason why the Edmonton Oilers, why the Florida Panthers are having success in the finals. Like some very deep teams where I feel like we're gonna have that top heaviness that we need. But then that good drafting is just going to give us that depth really throughout the organization and being able to roll 4 lines that are really going to be able to contribute. So that's where I see, kind of that benefit of, you need certain players to kind of take you over the top. But again, all that great work and that draft capital is really going to translate into that depth for the future, which we're seeing in the finals is really so needed to win.
Absolutely. And I'm excited to see what that looks like in a few years, because that to me is like, again, we see this version of the Habs. Yes, we have most of our stars for the future on the team now, but this team will look very different in 2 to 3 years time. Very different, right? Like, and that's the thing. Like, we got to brace for that. But want to go through a couple comments as well. Alex saying, if he has all these options and doesn't get something, I would be disappointed. I think that's a very fair take. As 83% of people saying the way we add someone this offseason will be through a trade. And you know what? I'm kind of on board with that too. Like, I'm gonna be unhappy if something doesn't get done. Is it the end of the world? Everything's collapsing? No, but I'm not gonna be thrilled. I want something to be done. And like you've said before, Jesse, like we've said, like the team has proven to Kent Hughes that they made the playoffs. They could lock in and do it. Now it's time to reward them with even more talent. We didn't trade away guys for futures at the deadline. Time to go get someone else to bring in. And Mark Orr actually says, I think Kent does not care about the market. I think he's going all in for a 25 to 27-year-old 2C from a team we do not expect. Hey, Jesse, I mean, that's something we've said before. Kent Hughes is sneaky. Like, trades can come out of absolutely nowhere. If you're MLB fans, Rafael Devers, out of freaking nowhere, got shipped off to the Giants for almost nothing. A superstar, basically. And now there was other factors at play there, but he was reportedly very disgruntled with the Red Sox, didn't want to be there, and no one saw it coming. All of a sudden, a superstar was traded. That stuff doesn't maybe happen all the time. Happened in basketball with Luka, Rafael Devers in baseball. Who's saying that a great star player can't be on the move to Montreal? Hey, Jesse, I'm just saying, if a team is ready to do that, Montreal has the assets in place to make a big move.
Absolutely. And a really great take by Mark here. Like, there's a really strong chance that it's somebody that we just really don't quite suspect at all. I don't know why. I keep kind of going back to thinking like Quentin Byfield, just under some circumstance, right? Where it's a situation where the Kings, where it's like, okay, they're not rebuilding, but you have to feel like maybe they want to try something else there. But very likely, like obviously there's some main names. There's McTavish, Horvat's kind of fallen off the radar, as they will. There's suitors, right? And it'll kind of get slimmed down over time there. But I think Kent Hughes is obviously going to be really diligent, right? Like, we're all doing the same. Like, we're just checking, we're checking 2Cs around the league, but I think you also got to look at like those 1Cs around the league. Like, don't rule getting out another 1C from another team to kind of have this two-headed beast with Nick Suzuki, where it's really, Nick Suzuki, we know is a 1C, but I think it would just be so incredible. Like, if we were just kind of having like a 1A, 1B type of lines going forward, I think is obviously another very good situation that Kent Hughes does have the draft capital to pull off.
Absolutely. And actually, Mike Robinson, who is right now the #1 contributor on the recent live stream since this has shown up. I think it's a list of how many chats you send in the live streams since the start. And I think, Mike, you're #1. I think that's what it's saying. And WL #2. Kent has already said he will or would overpay for the right piece in a trade rather than overpay in free agency. I remember him saying that, and I think, yeah, that's the thing. We have the assets to do it, like you said. I'm ready for something to happen. Mark saying, what if they make Detroit an offer they cannot refuse for Larkin? I mean, that's the kind of thing we got to start thinking about. Larkin's a 1C, right? And he's the captain. But you never know. Everyone could be on the table. Don't know what's going on in Detroit. Of course, they want to try to win. Things are looking a little iffy right there. And, there was those comments at the end of the season that I think we may or may not, some people have taken out of context. But very interesting nonetheless. Very beyond excited for the future. This offseason is going to be something special, Jesse. Not only the draft, July 1st coming just a few days after that, the dominoes are going to start to fall. I can't wait to see it. But let's move on to the Olympic stuff right now, because this is going to be a ton of fun. But before we get there, 230 of you here in chat, 58 likes. I'd love to see that hit 100. You guys know how much we love hitting the like button. Just a reminder to you, only if you're enjoying the stream. If you're not enjoying the stream, leave it a dislike. That's fine. But if you're enjoying this and our daily content here leading up to the draft, leave a like for us. It means a ton. Thank you for being here. before we get to our boy Juraj, in case we have any Slovakians here, where is Planko? I don't know if I think it's been a little while since we've seen Planko, but let's start with Team Canada, Jesse. Now, I don't have the Team USA one here, but let's start with Team Canada because there's a certain name on the Habs that definitely wasn't named in the first 6. No surprise, because you have Reinhart, McDavid, Crosby, Makar, McKinnon, and Point was a little of a bit of a surprise, I suppose, to be one of the first 6, but well-deserved. He's a fantastic player. But when we're looking at Team Canada and even Team USA for the upcoming Olympics, we saw in the World Hockey Championship, or the Four Nations, I should say, we had a couple of guys that, should we say snubbed? I think it's fair to say snubbed, or at least they were right there on that final verge before they were cut. Nick Suzuki and Cole Caufield. I am a true believer that, especially after everything that went down, Four Nations, Team USA wants more goal scoring. There is no freaking way they leave Cole Caufield on the shelf for this upcoming tournament, and Team Canada, Nick Suzuki has proven himself. That second half of this season after the Four Nations, post Four Nations Nick Suzuki, is this a hot take to say it's the same type of beast as second half Slav, if not even more insane? Snubbed Suzuki is on another level, Jesse. I'm fully expecting both of these guys to get serious consideration, borderline locks for the national teams coming up. I don't know if that's hot, but I am ready to see it.
I love that take, Josh. Serious contention. You know what? I'm gonna go 2 for 2 on this as well. I love the Caufield take of them needing goal scoring, but I'm gonna say that the respect for Nick Suzuki is growing exponentially around the league right now. I mean, we just saw it recently, getting ranked fairly highly in the Hart MVP of the league rankings. Obviously with the Selke, he's getting love all around right now, and I think it's only really right. And I could really kind of see that translating. Like, that was the one thing that was kind of missing from Nick Suzuki, was like, he just was never getting the respect, even though he was playing so well. So I think that now that obviously the play has just been increasing year over year, as we know, you kind of combine that with getting that respect around the league. I think he's going to make a strong case to be able to crack that fourth line for a very strong Team Canada.
I mean, is it crazy to say that he could even go higher than the fourth line? I mean, I don't know. Again, two-way versatile play, especially if he improves his face-off game, which honestly, I'm a little excited to see what Suzuki can do on the face-off dot this year. I mean, I know that's like a pretty deep, specific thing to be excited for, but especially with the loss of Dvorak, like, a guy like Suzuki could come in, if he can bump his face-off percentage up to like 20 or 23%. Goodness, that's Kirby Dach level. Sorry, no, that's mean. But, you know, like 53, 54%. He's defensively responsible, getting Selke votes. He doesn't get penalized at all. He draws a lot of penalties. He has leadership. Great 200-foot game. Can score 30 goals in the season. He's over a point per game player. It's like Team Canada is so deep that I think fourth line would make sense, and even that would be like the highest honor, considering you're going to have other centers on the team like McKinnon, like McDavid, like Crosby. Probably not all playing center, but you know, like, I think there's a world where with the right players next to him, Jesse, he could play even high, even if it's not higher in the lineup on the line sheet, he can end up getting a lot more time on ice than some other guys. I mean, I don't know, maybe we're hyping our own guys too much, but I genuinely don't think we are. I think Suzuki at this point, like you said, getting those votes has proved people beyond a shadow of a doubt that this guy absolutely deserves to be among the best.
Yeah, definitely. And again, because as a center, had some flexibility to be able to jump around that lineup. Interesting. Obviously, there'll be a lot of work to do before then to kind of making sure he's secure in that spot. But obviously, we got a lot of faith in him to come up when it's really clutch.
Absolutely. And Caufield, too. I mean, speaking of clutch, 37 goals in 82 games, expecting a big breakout year this year. But there was an interesting message in chat that I did want to address right now when we're talking about Team USA, Jesse. And it is from Ethan. And it makes a lot of sense. What about this fella? What are the odds that our boy Lane Train can sneak in on Team USA as a defenseman for the upcoming Olympics? I think there's a real world. I think you're looking at Team USA. They obviously have such a talented group of people. I mean, Quinn Hughes and Charlie McAvoy, both named among the first 6 players to Team USA. They're a tough team to break into, especially on defense, considering they have like a lot of bigger guys, a lot of veterans. It's not impossible. It's not impossible to see a guy like Lane Hutson, again, like I like to say this thing, just make himself inevitable for Team USA. Maybe less likely than Caufield, which is crazy to say considering Hudson's like straight up, he got Norris votes this year, dude. Like, you know, like maybe it's crazy to say. I think he absolutely could be on the team. Depends on the selection process. If Bill Guerin has anything to do with it, I don't actually know if he does anymore. I probably should know that. But if he does, he likes big boys. Lane Hutson does not. I don't know, Jesse, like if you look at the list of the best defensemen in the world, this dude is definitely one of the top 6 American defensemen in the world. I'm just saying, it's definitely not an impossibility.
His respect's going to come in those accolades there. Be interested to see when the cap is. Normally, it probably will be around December or January, though, where they're kind of putting a lock for this team. So then it's not like a huge runway. Like for players like Cole, obviously Lane Hutson, he's going to be in competition. It's foolhardy to think otherwise for Suzuki, but like it really means starting off the season strong. Like Slav is basically going to be holding it down for his team. But for the rest of these players, like they're going to need to make some strong cases early on in the season here really to get there. But obviously with Lane Hutson, like he's one of those players where once he gets those opportunities, it's not a stretch of the imagination just to really kind of see him showing out, imagine him showing out at that type of tournament and then just being a lock there from going forward. He's just the type of guy that just wants to win, and logic just tells you, like, why would I put a defenseman like this small? And we know the type of playoff type games that it gets in those type of gold medal situations. That being said, it's like, do you want anybody else other than Lane Hutson out on the ice? Because this is going to be the type of guy that just wills your team to victory, where he just finds a way. He just plays his role. Like, he knows the game's bigger than him, but he's going to do everything he can to make sure that his team succeeds at the end of the day. So it might take a little bit of time. He might not make it to this Olympics, but you got to feel like he's going to get a chance at some point. Absolutely. In the very near, if it's not this year, probably like the year after, we're having more international competitions. And I mean, once he gets that spot, I mean, he's just going to take it and go off to the races with it.
I absolutely agree. Now, Adam Fox is American, right? I keep confusing if Adam Fox is Canadian or American. I'm pretty sure he's American. So like Ethan said here, the only thing is if they have Quinn Hughes, he's a better version of Lane Hutson, and Adam Fox, for now, right? So like Quinn Hughes and Adam Fox, along with Lane Hutson, I understand how Team USA might feel it's redundant to have all those three. And if you're picking between those three, again, unless Hutson has an absolutely monstrous start to the season, like that's where you're kind of like, okay, we maybe pick the veterans, but again, not impossible, would be very interesting. But for the poll, 47% of people said both Suzuki and Caufield will make the Olympics. 41% said just Suzuki, 10% said just Caufield. Again, 98%. It's just getting worse. I don't even understand how that works. Like, it just rounds down. Insane. Team Canada has to remember that a double IHF-sized rink and lines are still advantageous to the trap game, possibly. It could be very interesting, actually, but hey, yeah, I mean, it is a little different, but I'm excited to see how they adjust, and usually these NHL guys can adjust without much worry. Frank St. Joshua 100% biased all the time. Hey, wouldn't be any other way, right? Simone said a Cooley offer sheet. Offer sheets are not something we discussed. I mean, we've discussed it, Jesse, in terms of a real possibility. I'm just afraid that, like, not afraid. I just feel like Ken probably won't want to, like, hurt relationships with other teams. Like, again, if you have a chance to get a player, you're not going to be like, well, but what if I hurt their feelings? No, this is not really what it's going to come down to, but like, there's more to it than just that. I think there's a world we could do it, but I think the Rangers are all aboard keeping Cooley. But anyway, Simon saying, where's the Josh Gosse troll? I want to ban someone. Oh yeah, that Leafs person. I don't know if they come back, it'd be cool. Just don't ban us. I wonder if you could ban us. That'd be weird. Anyway, Jesse, final note for today. This is the biggest one. Leave a like on the video if you want to see a full season of Slafzilla and Olympic Slafzilla back. Leave a like on this stream right now. We got 25 to go until we hit 100. Thank you so much for being here. As always, Jesse, this was the big thing today. We knew it was coming. We knew when Team Slovakia was going to announce it. Slafkovsky, he is so famous in Slovakia. Everyone loves him there. Top row. Dead center. Your eyes go directly to him. Tatar and Faravari with Chernak, Nemec, and Pospisil all there for Team Slovakia. But Slav, of course, front and center. Now, we talked about, I think it was yesterday or very recently, on how Martin St. Louis' quote about how the playoffs brought him to a new level will have such a huge impact on Juraj Slafkovsky this upcoming season. Finally getting that first half Slav level start we want. But Jesse, we see these Olympics. I mean, it's the reason he was drafted first overall. Without that performance at the 2022 Olympics, Juraj Slafkovsky would not have gone first overall. He probably would have gone somewhere else in the top 5, but 7 goals in 7 games. And you watch those highlights, no flukes, like, yeah, some deflections, whatever. He was dominant as a 17-year-old. That's why he went first overall. We're seeing that come to life right now with the Habs. I am so excited to see international Slav again. The World Hockey Championship last year when he was a point per game as well. I am so ready for Slovakian hockey supremacy as long as it's not at the cost of Team Canada.
For sure. They might have a little bit of work still to get back to their glory years. But at the same time, like, that's what Slav wants to do. He wants to put this team on his back. And I just like that this is a situation where to really help build his confidence of him being the go-to guy, because for me, he has the skill, Josh, where it's like, as he's growing now, he's going to need to learn to kind of control, like, keep the stick a little bit more, the puck a little bit more, and shoot instead of passing it to Cole or to Nick Suzuki. Like we've been talking about all the time. We want to see that confidence grow for Juraj Slafkovsky. Why? He's got a great shot. And I think he's not even showing us all the tools that he really has in his toolbox yet. So this is why this event, him at the Olympics, this is going to be such a great opportunity for him to really get those reps in. We know he always performs so well at the Olympics. I'm just so hyped to see like Olympic level competition, or excuse me, NHL level competition back at the Olympics. Like Josh, like we know we grew up watching these amazing, gold medal games. We're thinking of Jonathan Toews, Crosby, etc. The list just kind of goes on. So nice to have this back. And obviously Slav, like I'm just loving that this is going to be an opportunity for him to really take ownership over the game and kind of, leave his mark.
I'm really curious to see how this kind of affects the play this season around the Olympics, because there's no All-Star break coming up this year, right? It's just going to be Olympics, and I want to see how he plays before and after, because international hockey is Slav's bread and butter, right? He always looks like, because Olympics is best on best, but there's a bit more open space, and against some teams, like, again, if you go play Latvia or something, you can really go out there and play against a team that might be weaker than an average NHL team. You can really make your mark. But I think the real proof is going to be in the pudding when they play against these top-end teams like Canada, USA, Sweden, Finland, right? These four nations-level teams. I'm just excited. I wish we could have seen him at some other big tournaments. Like, again, if Slovakia was in the four nations, that would have been so cool. Or World Hockey Championship this year, of course. Slav couldn't go or didn't go. There is some controversy there, but I am so glad to see him representing his country. I mean, we saw, this channel exploded during the World Hockey Championship. Slav Olympics, Slav international play is something completely different. It's a different beast. Cannot wait for it. Gonna read through the chats here. Again, Ron saying, I assume YouTube has an American education with the percentage things there. That's a good one, Ron. We got Ethan saying, no, you can't. It says you can't ban the broadcaster. That means Ethan tried to ban us, but was unsuccessful. To offer sheet of Tuesday would mean a large overpay in terms of salary and draft picks for sure. Let's see, what else we got? Slav is already up against top competition every night, so he'll be used to playing against some of those guys. I think that's very true, and WL even saying Slav faces more pressure back home than in Montreal from what I've heard. Again, Jesse, that's another thing. Slav has been at his best when the lights are the brightest, when the pressure's on the most. We know what he said about the Slovakian media. He is worse than Montreal by a lot. I know he doesn't always agree with Slovakian international hockey. Love to see him here. Pressure's going to be on the most. And hey, maybe that'll just ease off some pressure of his season with the Habs as well. It's going to have various effects on him. But look, I'm just pumped to see full season to Slav again.
Oh, for sure. And like, are you going to be okay with a Slafkovsky this year? We know he wants to be more physical. That's the thing, being engaged. And that's what kind of unlocked him in the second part of the year. He said, like, okay, I need to play like some of these other guys in the league. I'm not going to shout them out. They're a little bit of our rivals there, but he had his kind of like, okay, who I should kind of set myself up to play. Like, to his credit, did work out for him, definitely. I think that he could even be better than some of those guys as well once he kind of fully unlocks, once he starts shooting the puck more. Like, Josh, are you okay? Like, if we're on a 2-on-1 and with like your eyes there with Nick Suzuki and Cole, and he just starts letting it rip and he's not passing, like, do you want him to still defer? Or are you okay with letting him rip at this point in his career?
At this point, I want him to shoot. Like, his shot is so strong. Like, look, obviously it depends on the situation, but if he thinks he should shoot, he should shoot. Because again, him deferring, it's been great at a lot of times because we know how great of a passer he is. Yes, not every pass goes through. Those blind passes still stress me out a lot of the time. Those blind, spinny backhand passes. But, at the same time, he has made some filthy passes. And so he can do that. We know how good of a playmaker he can be. But that shot, like, to get that confidence up. I want 25 goals this year. He went down from 20 to 18 goals this year. Again, he missed 3 games this year, so maybe he would have hit 20, whatever. But I'm ready for Slav just to start shooting. Like, again, I just defer to him. And I want his confidence to be higher than it's ever been. We started to see that come out second half of this year, second half of last year, playoffs this year. I'm ready to see him go for it. But listen, guys, leave your love for Slav, for everything coming out down below, because look, the future of the Habs has never looked brighter. There's a lot of things going down, draft, trades, free agency, all that great stuff. Jesse, any final words before we end this wonderful stream off again? Guys, we're just like 10 days away from the draft. I cannot wait.
Absolutely. Thanks so much again for helping us hit 21,000. Obviously, really appreciate all your support. You guys coming out as a community where we feel so privileged that we've been able to make, so many more friends, and obviously as a part of being a part of this channel, and just want to say thank you guys again here on this live just for all your amazing support.
Yeah, it's been great. And hey, don't forget, every single Monday, if you're new here, you're part of the group here that's new. Every single Monday, 6:15 p.m. Eastern, we are live. Next Monday may be a question, but there will be a video. Every single day there is content. Channel members, you get these new emotes like Chef Hughes here and Mark Orr. Yes, we will be doing a watch along for the draft. I was getting to that. We're jumping right to it. Look, all these emotes, channel members can send that. We have post shows coming out a few times a week where we chat after the videos about some extra details in the videos, and you don't want to miss during the draft. We will be live. We will have the draft playing. Not the full broadcast. We cannot do that. That is illegal. But we will be there to chat about the draft with all you fine folks, because we know some big moves are coming, and if something does, we will have it up on YouTube very, very shortly after. So stay tuned for all of that. But that'll do it for this episode of Habs Digest. If you enjoyed, leave a like, comment, subscribe to the channel. Thank you so much, all of you, for tuning in every single day. I'm Josh Gosse, my co-host, Jesse Poirier. We'll catch you in the next one.